Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to Level Headed News. This is your host, Brenda, and I have another episode for you. This has 4 articles in it, and the first one here is off of Breitbart.com, and it says Obama administration finalizes Social Security gun ban. And there is video in this one if you care to pull it up and take a look at it at your leisure. All these URLs, of course, are in the description of my videos so that you can pull them up to do whatever research you need to do. But we'll get started with this one. It says on Monday, the Obama administration finalized a Social Security gun ban that could prevent tens of thousands of law-abiding elderly citizens from purchasing guns for self-defense. Breitbart News reported this ban on July the 18th of 2015 when it was learned that the Obama administration was creating a ban on gun purchases that would apply to Social Security recipients who needed help managing their finances. The Los Angeles Times reported that the ban would be sweeping, that it would cover those who are unable to manage their own affairs for a multitude of reasons, from subnormal intelligence or mental illness to incompetency, an unspecified condition or disease. And it's going to try to play something here, so I'm going to try to get it stopped before it plays, but I'll go on. It says in January, Obama incorporated the ban into his executive gun controls. A White House preview of those controls explained that the Social Security Administration, SSA, was putting together the rules for how to enforce the ban. Current law prohibits individuals from buying a gun if, because of a mental health issue, they are either a danger to themselves or others, or are unable to manage their own affairs. The Social Security Administration, or SSA, has indicated that it will begin the rulemaking process to ensure that appropriate information in its records is reported to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or the NICS. The reporting, in consultation with the Department of Justice, is expected to require it will cover appropriate records of the approximately 75,000 people each year who have a documented mental health issue, receive disability benefits, and are unable to manage those benefits because of their mental impairment, or who have been found by a state or federal court to be legally incompetent. The rulemaking will also provide a mechanism for people who seek relief from the federal prohibition on possessing a firearm for reasons of related to mental health. In early May 2016, the SSA released more information on the ban of a 41-page preview. Page 19 says the following: under our representative payee policy, unless direct payment is prohibited, we presume that an adult beneficiary is capable of managing or directing management of benefits. However, if we have information that the beneficiary has mental or physical impairment that prevents him or her from managing or directing the management of benefits, we will develop the issue of capability. If a beneficiary has a mental impairment, we will develop the capability issue if there is an indication that the beneficiary may lack the ability to reason properly, is disoriented, has serious impairment, judgment, or is unable to communicate with others. In other words, once the beneficiary has the SSA's attention by having someone help with finances, the process of determining mental health status begins, becoming incrementally intrusive. And if a ruling of mental illness sufficient to meet the reporting threshold is handed down, then the beneficiary will be reported to the NICS and prohibited from purchasing firearms. Despite public outcry, the rules have now been finalized. The NRA-ILA reports Barack Obama's Social Security Administration, SSA, issued the final version of a rule that will doom tens of thousands of law-abiding and vulnerable disability insurance and supplemental security income SSI recipients to a loss of Second Amendment rights under the guise of recharacterizing them as mental defectives. The SSA has, for the first time in history, will be co-opted into the federal government's gun control apparatus, effectively requiring Social Security applicants to weigh their need for benefits against their fundamental rights when applying for assistance based on mental health problems. Unbelievable. Here is off of oathkeepers.org, and it says Blumenthal delusional on Trump and guns, a ploy for attention and disruption. Calling Congress complicit for criminal murders on using guns, Connecticut Democrat Senator Richard Blumenthal called on President-elect Donald Trump to do the unpredictable and support citizen disarmament edicts, PJ Media reports. It's a Nixon to China moment for Donald Trump when he can defy the expectation to do the unpredictable. He likes doing the unpredictable, respond to a rally, which he also likes to do, and the rally is the American people who are clamoring and demanding action. Blumenthal posted in a Capitol Hill rally exploiting families and survivors victimized by violent armed criminals. Donald Trump has a legacy moment when he can seize this opportunity, a historic opportunity to do the right thing and adopt these common sense measures, background checks for every gun purchase, a ban on terrorists buying guns, and ending the immunity, the legal immunity, unprecedented, unknown to any other industry for gun manufacturers. These are your ideas, Donald. We'll give you credit for them. In other words, his bright idea is for Trump to betray the constituency that put him in power and embrace rejected policies that lost the election for Hillary Clinton. Blumenthal is suggesting Trump will do this dirty work for him, rights by enacting edicts that are the kiss of political death anywhere but in blue state progressive enclaves. That's what his partner in oath breaking, Connecticut's other senator, Chris Murphy, unintentionally admitted, all the while trying to put a spin on reality to mask his on-the-ropes desperation. Stuart Rhodes candidly assessed Blumenthal's seemingly delusional plea. And he says, this is the same as saying do the unpredictable and cut your own political throat by violating your oath and your promise to your supporters to defend the Second Amendment and act exactly the same as Hillary had won, as if Hillary had won. What Trump should do instead is call these oath-breaking politicians out as blood dancers they are, who turn a blind eye to the reality that is criminal street thugs and gangbangers killing other en masse in Democratic stronghold, sanctuary cities such as Chicago or New Haven, Connecticut, for that matter, where the gangbangers have free reign to rule the streets without having to worry about local people taking out the trash like the people in Mexico are starting to do with armed citizen patrols. Since the law-abiding locals in such Democratic-controlled cities are forbidden to carry guns for self-defense, the leftist answer is to always blame the law-abiding, decent gun owners for the gangbangers' obsession with violence and murder. They don't blame the gang culture and the hip-hop culture that idolizes it, but instead blame the rest of us who don't run around doing drive-by shootings and gangland assassinations. And it is us they seek to disarm. And we know why, because they have plans for us that require us to be disarmed before they can be effectively carried out. And the article goes on and says, so both totalitarian wannabes, Blumenthal and Murphy, are from Connecticut, eh? The place must be a lost cause, right? Not if gun owners fighting on the front lines there have anything to say about it. Many times when documenting the latest in-your-face infringements from drunk-on-power politicians, gun owners will weigh in and condemn the entire state. We've all seen comments generalizing and applying blame to California, New Jersey, or New York. That works against liberty. I met some fine Connecticut Bill of Rights defenders, including members of our Connecticut Oath Keepers chapter, and they're as dedicated a group of patriots as any. The ones with their trucks against, or try that again, they're the ones with their backs against the wall can be the most committed activists, devoting time, treasure, and effort while fighting against overwhelming odds. These people have earned our admiration and gratitude for not giving up, and for showing those of us who don't have it as bad as they do what it means not to give up. They deserve our encouragement and support. Those front lines are important because it's where the abusers are strongest and the significant stands for liberty are made. Connecticut is one of the places a friend and colleague to many of us, the late Mike Vanderborg, led by example, committing acts of the civil disobedience when no other means of peaceful recourse were available. Again, quoting Stewart, he says, I am glad we were able to help Mike with travel expenses on several occasions so he could speak at important events such as his speech on the steps of the Connecticut Capitol, where he committed his first of many acts of defiance to unjust, unconstitutional, anti-gun edicts by oath-breaking politicians. And his speech at the Alamo, I felt, was important to do that so that people who called themselves 3%ers would know who Mike was and would listen to his advice and counter of that movement on how to do that mission right. And the article concludes, says, Blumenthal and Murphy are making noise, getting media recognition, and appealing to the useful idiots who keep them in power. They're not really delusional because they know exactly what they're doing. They're saving face, and they're laying the groundwork to make things as disruptive as possible to discourage Trump from keeping campaign promises and to poison public perception when he does. And the next article I have for you is off of the Conservative Tribune, and it says, Israel pleads for Trump's help after Obama ambush. Trump calls Egyptian president and changes everything. It says, when Egypt was about to sponsor a resolution before the United Nations condemning Israel over settlements and Obama administration wasn't going to do anything, President-elect Donald Trump sprung into action. And while the anti-Israel resolution still passed, Trump still managed to show that he was able to take care of the Jewish state in a way Obama never would. According to the Washington Post, while the resolution was eventually re-sponsored by other governments, Trump was able to convince the Egyptian government to withdraw their sponsorship of it. On Friday, Egypt said its president had received a call from Trump in which they both agreed to give the incoming U.S. administration a chance to try to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The call came hours after Egypt indefinitely postponed the UN vote, the Washington Post said. A statement from Egypt said that after Trump spoke with the president, they agreed upon the importance of giving a chance for the new American administration to deal in a comprehensive way with the different aspects of the Palestinian issue with the aim of achieving a comprehensive and final resolution. In spite of all that, Obama decided not to give the new administration a chance to deal with the Palestinian Israeli issue, abstaining on the vote when the resolution came up and thus allowing it to pass, according to the New York Times. In other words, Egypt is apparently more willing to work with Donald Trump and Israel than the Obama administration is. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. And there is a video in this if you want to take a look at the video at your leisure. The article goes on here and says, it was to be expected that Israel's greatest ally would act in accordance with values we share and that they would have vetoed this disgraceful resolution, Israeli Ambassador Danny Danon said, according to Fox News. I have no doubt that the U.S. administration and the incoming and the incoming UN Secretary General will usher in a new era in terms of the UN's relationship with Israel. Given Trump's actions with Israel, we have hope. And given the fact that Obama's anti-Israel administration will be out of office soon, we have a lot more hope. And the final article I have in this episode is off of thehill.com, and it says UN passes resolution calling for an end to Israeli settlements. The UN Security Council on Friday passed a resolution demanding an end to Israeli settlement building in occupied territories. The U.S. had the ability to veto the resolution, but sustained from doing so, despite the pressure from President-elect Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Obama administration's decision to let it pass represents a break from the long-standing U.S. policy of shielding Israel from UN reproaches. Israel's settlements have been seen by critics as human rights violations, and some say they are an obstacle to achieving peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Trump argued would be a bigger impediment to the negotiations between the two sides. As the United States has long maintained, peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians will only come through direct negotiations between the two parties, and not through the imposition of terms by the United Nations. President-elect said in a statement on Thursday. This puts Israel in a very poor negotiation position and is extremely unfair to all Israelis. Samantha Power, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, explained the move in a statement to the council, condemning Netanyahu for continuing settlement expansions while paying lip service to the idea of a two-state solution. One cannot simultaneously champion expanding Israel or Israeli settlements and champion a viable two-state solution that would end the conflict, she said. One has to make a choice between settlements and separation. Abstention was met with fierce condemnation over many on the right, including the influential American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or the AIPAC, just minutes after some top Democrats had called on the administration to veto the measure. This is absolutely shameful, House Speaker Paul Ryan, Republican of Wisconsin, said in a statement. Today's vote is a blow to peace that sets a dangerous precedent for further diplomatic efforts to isolate and demonize Israel. Our unified Republican government will work to reverse the damage done by this administration and rebuild our alliance with Israel. Senator Tom Cotton, Republican of Arkansas, blasted the Obama administration's move as cowardly and disgraceful and threatened to push for reprisals against the UN and members of the Security Council. The UN and nations supporting this resolution have now imperiled all forms of U.S. assistance, Cotton said in a statement. I look forward to working with President-elect Trump and members of both parties in Congress to decide what the consequences for this action will be. Minutes before the vote, top Democrats like Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey and incoming Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York had urged the president to veto the resolution. J Street, a liberal Jewish organization that favors two-state solution, came to Obama's side, applauding the move in a statement on Friday afternoon. The resolution conveys the overwhelming support of the international community, including Israel's closest friends and allies, for the two-state solution and their deep concern over the deteriorating status quo between Israelis and the Palestinians and the lack of meaningful progress towards peace, Jeremy Ben-Ami, the group's president, said in the statement. It's also a clear signal that the international community's patience with an occupation of almost 50 years has its limits. So there you have those articles, and I have one more episode that I will bring you that concerns some Christmas news, things that went on over Christmas weekend. So we'll bring you that in a little bit. If you like what we're doing, give this a thumbs up, share it around to everybody so they get the news. Don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell beside the subscribe button so that you get alerts when I bring on the shows. We'll see you in the next episode.